Can I say I'm surprised? The big story that we have now is Kamala Harris busted for taking out fake Google ads. Well, they're real Google ads, but they're fake headlines to make it look like her campaign's doing better than it really is. She has no campaign policies, and she's running as what Fox News describes her as, what do they call her? A generic Democrat. That's it. Vote Democrat just because. Because vote blue no matter who. That's become the main thing, I guess. Now, the polls are coming out way in favor of Kamala Harris. Donald Trump, the media is claiming, is losing his mind, saying that J.D. Vance was the wrong choice. It's all lies. It's all lies. J.D. Vance was a great choice. The big scandal now, Tim Waltz is really feeling the stolen valor thing. So that'll be our second segment. And J.D. Vance's scandal is that he wore a dress. I mean, they tried calling him weird. And now they found a photo from 13 years ago of him at some party, at a college party or something. And he was wearing a wig and a dress playing beer pong. It's like, what did he lose, a dare or a bet or something? Come on, this is ridiculous. That's what they can come up with. But Tim Waltz is really feeling the heat from the stolen valor scandal, addressing it again and trying to downplay it, claiming as though J.D. Vance insulted him over his service. Bro, it ain't going to work. This is a huge issue. A lot of people are saying, wow, the dude lied about being in war and over again lied about his rank. So that's really hitting him hard. And then we got a couple stories, but maybe we'll see what develops throughout the day, because there's a small handful of stories we can get into. Of course, Google is at risk of being broken apart. The DOJ is preparing to break apart Google as an illegal monopoly. And then we got big news, a couple big stories in the Foreign Policy Department. Germany has issued an arrest warrant for Ukrainian diver for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, okay, Ukraine is our enemy. Ukraine is the enemy of this country, of our allies. And why are we tolerating funding this stuff? You look, man, I can get mad. I can say, well, look at the polls. I can get frustrated with Democrats. The foreign policy stuff really riles me up. $20 billion now approved to be sent to Israel as we're gearing up for a war, for whatever reason, that Israel's going to have with Iran, because the U.S. is going to get dragged into it. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I really do believe that no matter who wins this time around, we're going to have war. I know Donald Trump is the first president that didn't start a war, but I don't know if Trump can stop what's coming at this point. I mean, we're actively in war in Ukraine. Even if Trump gets in and does try to tone things down, and for a while I thought he could really end it, but now I think it's getting to that, it's escalating to an extreme end. I'm concerned about what we end up with in terms of Iran and Israel. I don't know that Trump could stop that. Maybe. But I think no matter who we get, the war's happening. Now, to be fair, I mean, you vote for Kamala Harris and she's going to just giggle and then press the button, go, beep, 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 and then just fire all the missiles. I don't trust her. But there are some people who are claiming that Kamala Harris, being far left, wants to protect Iran. Did I say war with Israel? I meant war with Iran. We're gonna get into a war with Israel. So we'll talk about all of that stuff. We'll get started with the Kamala Harris story. So get your super chats in, because after the first segment, after every segment, we go to your super chats. We'll read what you guys got to say. And actually, too, if you guys see any big stories that you think I could pull up, I could certainly pull those up. Before we get started, head over to castbrew.com. Support the show. Appalachian Nights, everybody's favorite. And Ian's Graphene Dream is quickly taken over. A lot of people are saying the low acidity coffee is really helping out their systems, because they have a hard time with the harshness of a lot of coffee. So it was very clever of Ian to say we should have a low acidity coffee. So castbrew.com to support the show. Also head over to timcast.com. Click join us to become a member and support our work directly. As a member, you'll get access to our Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals. But for $10 a month, you are what's making all of this possible. So, without you guys as members, we would not be here doing the work that we do. And if you think that the show is good, if you like the Tim Pool Daily Show, available on iTunes and Spotify, as well as Timcast IRL, I'll tell you guys this right now as well. If you're ever missing an episode, we're on all podcast platforms, so you can find the show on iTunes and Spotify. The morning show records, and then we publish at 6. And then might actually publish it sooner. I might set it for 1 p.m. or something. Might as well. And then Timcast IRL goes live right away. And check us out on the podcast platforms. It'll help boost our rankings. Not that it really matters all that much, but let's dive into the first story. Ladies and gentlemen, Kamala Harris campaign busted for taking out Google ads with fake headlines to deceive voters into believing positive coverage. If I were to tell you that the Democrats were lying, would you be shocked? Yeah, I didn't think you would be. But this is a big scandal because news outlets are not writing this positive coverage of the Kamala Harris campaign. But the Harris campaign is making sure that when you search Google, I got to give it to them. This is clever. Here's one. Sponsored, paid for by Harris for president. VP Harris protects democracy. Trump defends January 6 comments. They're running multiple headlines. Here's a story from Axios. Now, I first heard this from allsides.com, actually. And then we saw this story blow up. Axios, Harris's campaign Google ads rewrite news headlines. Notice how it's a rather neutral headline over at Axios. Here's a bunch of examples. Screenshots of Harris for president ads with Google Ads library. So let me break this down. The Democrats in the Harris campaign are taking out ads on Google, not to promote their campaign, but to edit the headlines of news stories to promote news stories. But the headlines look like endorsements or positive coverage of Kamala Harris. I got to give it to you. That is masterfully done. Masterfully done. You see, this is what I'm talking about with Republicans being constantly behind the curve and, to be honest, unwilling to be evil. Donald Trump could have called in the National Guard, and I don't even consider that evil during the riots. He could have been stronger, but he's trying to play nice. Say, we're going to let the states do what they do. We're not going to come in with an iron fist. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Look at this. Some of these headlines. Who is Kamala Harris? That's not so bad. Harris will lower health costs. Tim Waltz's military service, 24 years of the National Guard. VP Harris's economic vision, lower costs and higher wages. Can we get the Republicans to play dirty? I mean, they do. I'm not a fan of it. I'm kidding. What do? How do you win when the opponent is underhanded, evil, and manipulative? Now, here's what Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump has an ad. Let me, I can pull it right up for you. Real Donald Trump over on that there X. Here's what Donald Trump is doing. He's doing an ad blitz. And here we go. Here's an ad they posted to Twitter. Here's what Trump is playing. I'll play a little bit of it. I'm not going to play a lot of it.
Bad moments. You got to love what you're doing. And if you don't, just do something else. Keep standing up always for your values. Keep loving your country. And one of the most important things, never, ever quit. Never quit. Then ask yourself, what imprint will you leave in the sands of history? What will future Americans say we did in our brief time right here on Earth? Did we take risks? Did we dare to defy expectations? Did we challenge accepted wisdom and take on established systems? In my short time in Washington, I've seen firsthand how the system is broken. A small group of failed voices who think they know everything and understand everyone want to tell everybody else how to live and what to do and how to think. But you aren't going to let other people tell you what you believe, especially when you know that you're right. I know that each of you will be a warrior for the truth.
You get the point. I mean, I'd like to play it out. It's 2.5 minutes, but I think you get the point. And it was actually really good. I played a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. But the point here is Donald Trump's ads that he's running and the media blitz that he's doing with $100 million are meant to create an image, show Donald Trump, show his message, create a sense of awe and inspiration. That's typical advertisement stuff. Donald Trump making an ad showing his supporters waving signs and him saying, what will we be? Who will we be? What will we do? Totally fine. Yeah, that's marketing. That's advertising. Pretty good, by the way, but not particularly evil. What we're seeing here is instead of running advertisements where it's like Kamala Harris wants to, I don't know, what's her campaign policies? Maybe that's why she's not running these ads, because they'd say Kamala Harris simultaneously says she'll defend the border while opening the border and not doing her job as vice president currently. Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to tax your tips and now claims she wants no taxes on tips. The joke I made was when Kamala Harris said, what can be unburdened by what has been? What she was really saying is that All of these really unpopular positions are because she's been burdened by Joe Biden. And now that she is unburdened by Joe Biden's resignation from the race, she is now free to enact her policies like no taxes on tips or build the wall and make America great again. That's the game she's going to play. This is what the Democrats are currently running to try and help Kamala Harris win. Fake news headlines to trick people into thinking the corporate press, well, they are in the bag for Kamala. But now they're all getting really offended that she's doing this. Well, here's the story. The Harris campaign has been editing news headlines and descriptions within Google search ads that make it appear as if The Guardian, Reuters, CBS News, and other major publishers are on her side, Axios has found. The funny thing is, they are literally on her side. Why it matters. It's a common practice in the commercial advertising world that doesn't violate Google's policies. But the ads mimic real news results from search closely enough that they have news outlets caught off guard. According to Google's Ad Transparency Center, the Trump campaign isn't running these types of ads, but this technique has been used by campaigns before. The ads say that they are sponsored, but it's not immediately clear that the text that accompanies real news links is written by the campaigns and not by the media publication. You know what, man? You know, I have a dream, and that is reasonable, honorable people make their argument, and then we vote for who makes the most sense. And then the loser says, well, I hope your vision works. I hope your plan works. They shake hands and thus be the end of it. But how naive to believe that that's how politics actually works. It's never been that way. It'll never be that way because we have too many evil people. I love how these communists, you know, many of these younger idealistic communists who are stupid seem to think that if you can just get rid of the evil people, that you will have a utopia. Then they create a path by which the evil people easily walk into office, take over, and then just start killing people. I guess the reality is good, hardworking people don't engage in these kinds of practices of trying to create utopias in the first place. They mostly mind their own business, but that allows evil to ferment, as it were. What they're saying, quote, while we understand why an organization might wish to align itself with the Guardian's trusted brand, we need to ensure it is being used appropriately and with our permission. We'll be reaching out to Google for more information about this practice, a Guardian spokesperson said. Spokespeople for brands such as CNN, USA Today, and NPR, whose links appeared in Harris for President ads, said they were unaware their brand was being featured in this way. Reality check. Google said the ads don't violate its rules, but platforms have in the past wrestled with whether this type of format can spread misinformation. Yes! The Harris campaign is literally rewriting news headlines and then paying for them to appear on the top of search. In the meantime, Google's been ruled an illegal monopoly, so this is a strategy to make sure the dominant search engine that everyone's going to use is going to be delivering fake news headlines to people. Kamala doesn't have anything to actually campaign on, so they're going to make it up. But it works. It works, man. You know, let me tell you this. You got these Trump supporters saying the polls are fake. Kamala Harris is not doing that well. The betting markets are also fake. The prediction markets are fake. The betting odds are fake. Trump is really winning. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. I can show you some data suggesting the polls are all fake and all that stuff. We'll talk about it. And also maybe Kamala is lying, cheating, and stealing. So, you know, get ready. As of right now, I am feeling like Kamala's going to win. I really am. I look at everything going on. I look at how the Trump campaign is handling itself. And the Trump-Elon thing was great. Really great move. Really powerful move. Coming back on X was great. But Donald Trump can't just come back to X. He has to make jokes. The famous tweets where he said, the Coca-Cola company is angry with me. That's okay. I'll still keep drinking that garbage. So good. The zinger against Bill Barr is one of the best roasts anyone has ever done in the history of humanity. When he was like, previously I called Bill Barr fat, lethargic, incompetent. And since his full-throated endorsement of me, I've decided to remove lethargic from the statement. It's just so good. Trump is too good. Kafifi, bring back the meme magic, Donald Trump. That's what we need. People want to have fun. They say Facebook banned the ability for advertisers to edit text from instant article news links in 2017, citing its continuing efforts to stop the spread of misinformation. Google argues that because ads on search are prominently labeled as sponsored, they are easily distinguishable from search results. For years, a Google spokesperson said, "We've provided additional levels of transparency for election ads specifically." A source familiar with the Harris campaign's ads team said the campaign buys search ads with news links to give voters searching for information about Vice President Harris more context. The campaign has complied with all of Google's rules, although a technical glitch in Google's ad library made it appear as though some ads lacked the necessary disclosures Google requires when they ran. A glitch, you say? Just another glitch. It's always an error, a mistake, a glitch here or there. Election advertisers are required to complete an identity verification process, and we prominently display in-ad disclosures that clearly show people who paid for the ad, the spokesperson said. Let me tell you, when I try to run an ad for my podcast, which is not the advertisement itself, not endorsing anything, they tell me I've got to verify with my ID and all this other corporate nonsense to prove who we are because it's an election ad. And I'm like, it's an ad for a podcast. There's nothing political in it. And they're like, too bad. So the ad that we did do, it just removed all references to the show other than me saying, come watch the show. And apparently that one was fine. They say since August 3rd, nearly a dozen news companies have been used in these types of ads from the Harris campaign, Axios found. Independent UK, NPR, AP, The Guardian, USA Today, PBS, CNN, CBS News, Time, WDAY Radio, WDAY Radio. The ads include links to real articles from news outlets, but the headlines and supporting text have been altered to read as though the articles in support of Harris campaign's objectives. For example, an ad that ran alongside an article from The Guardian shows a headline that reads, VP Harris fights abortion bans, Harris defends repro freedom. And that includes supporting text underneath it. VP Harris is a champion for reproductive freedom and will stop Trump's abortion bans. Masterfully done. You see, that's campaigning right there. Beat the people over the head, lie to them over and over, convince them that it's actually normal and mainstream and everybody loves Harris and Donald Trump is so weird. It's working. I really think it's working, man. Look, a lot of people ain't so smart. So here we have Glenn Greenwald with this tweet. Let me zoom in for you. He says, I was shocked yesterday when I saw Axios publish an investigation reflecting negatively on Kamala's campaign. But soon as the reporter, Sarah Fisher, was attacked for doing it, she immediately denigrated her own scoop, saying it was no big deal and Kamala did nothing wrong. Wow. Sarah Fisher tweeted, Harris' campaign has been editing news headlines and descriptions in her search ads that make it appear as if major outlets support her. Google believes its sponsored disclosures are enough to keep voters from being misled, but media outlets may feel differently. She then responds, Harris camp doing nothing wrong, and Google, which is pretty strict about banning spammy ads, doesn't see it as consumer harm. News outlets just collateral damage in this weird ads tactic. Walk it back, get on your knees for these Democrat troll accounts, because they will say mean words. Dude, you know, this election really comes down to a lot. Democrat versus Republican comes down to a lot. There's men versus women. There's smart versus stupid. There's weak-willed versus strong-willed. There's agreeable versus disagreeable. A lot of these things, there's good versus evil. And it really is hyperpolarizing along these lines. Let me give you an example. Let's start with the 7 deadly sins, as it were. Pride, need I say more? Envy and greed, communism, sloth and gluttony. Ooh, that one's real easy. That is body positivity. Yeah. And then also sloth does go along with communism too. Gluttony and communism don't seem to go along very well, but greed, gluttony, they all overlap, don't they? Ooh, wrath. I like that one. Antifa much? If you take a look at the 7 deadly sins, it really aligns perfectly with the Democratic Party. Did I get all of them? Because I can't remember which ones I said. We'll make sure. 7 deadly sins. The 7 deadly sins. Not that pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. You can look at all of these things that we're concerned about, and it's not even like a right-wing thing, and be like, yeah, those represent the cardinal vices, the cardinal sins, the capital vices, they call them. Pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. That's where it's really breaking down, isn't it? But I'll tell you, when a bunch of mean people say mean things to me on the internet, I just say, K. Unless I genuinely think I got something wrong. I'll like talk about a news story and someone will super chat and say, hey, Tim, actually it's X. And I'll go, oh, is it really? Did I miss that one? Huh. But then I get people like trying to talk smack. You know what's really funny? I know it's a little bit personal, but it is exemplified here in the best way that I can tell it in my own personal way. This woman who's in news media publishes a negative story about Democrats. Democrats attack her. So she goes, she's scared. And then you get these pro skateboarders. And I know this is probably a little bit more esoteric, but I see this in my world, and I'm sure you see it in your world. Pro skateboarders, like, if I say something on the internet about what I believe, I'll get attacked, and I'm scared of mean comments on the internet. Dude, grow up. All of you, grow up. Stop being such whiny babies because people are mean to you on the internet. Jeez, man. Here's an idea. Turn the monitor off. There you go. Press the power button. You're getting cyberbullied. Oh, no. I got 10 people commenting on my Instagram talking mean to me. I better immediately reverse all of my positions. Calm down. Jeez. Grow up. You know what's funny is because it's almost like these people are so terrified about what other people might say about them that they have no principles. They have no willpower. It is pathetic. And I'm not just talking about this lady. I'm talking about everybody. Look, man, I'll keep it nice for Kyle Rittenhouse. He was wrong when he said he was going to write in Ron Paul or whatever. But then you get these guys going on Twitter, going on X, and being like, screw you, blah. And then Kyle's like, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I would ever have said such a thing. And it's like, well, you're wrong about Trump. But, dude, you know what I absolutely love? So I'm ragging on these people. Because, and it's like Cat Turd and the Dilly guy, and there's a few others. And I'm ragging on them because they struggle session. Who do they struggle session? Joe Rogan. Yeah, right. That's not going to work. And Kyle Rittenhouse. Joe Rogan endorsed RFK, blah. And the funny thing is, so I'm ragging on them, like, knock it off. And then literally in this thread, I'm jokingly like, okay, I'm voting for RFK Jr. now. And the media reports that after I was criticized for endorsing RFK, I backtracked. Oh, you people are so stupid. So stupid. Whatever, man. The only thing that really frustrates me is that we can't, break through to the average person. Maybe they just can't comprehend these things. I don't know. That breaks my... I think people can be smart enough to understand, but too many people intentionally manipulate the narrative for political benefit. Shout out to Katie Fang, when she was like, Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, and Nick Fuentes said they're not going to be supporting Trump. And it's like, Joe Rogan never supported Trump. I was obviously insulting people and being sarcastic in reference to what Joe was saying, but they know this. Well, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. We got the latest polling data for you. Let's take a look at where we're at with interactive polls, updated electoral map based on the Cook Political Survey. And Cook Political is like one of the principal political surveys. And heavens to Betsy, it looks like Kamala Harris is set to win, at least according to the updated Cook Political Survey. So you have Cook Political saying Harris 297 electoral votes, Trump 215 with a 16 toss-up. They're calling it safe Harris right now. I don't know if that's true. We got this H2H general election poll showing Harris is up across the board. So let's do this. Trump gets only Nevada and Georgia is a tie. Trump's only getting Nevada. So she's taking Arizona. She's taking Wisconsin. She's taking Michigan. She's taking Pennsylvania. And Georgia, we don't know. 281 Kamala Harris. That's where we're currently at. And you could be saying to me, Tim, no way. No way. Okay, no. How could that be possible? Trump's not winning. How is it possible that Trump's not winning? Because they're lying? Because they're tricking people into Google searching stories and seeing them be positive for Kamala Harris? Because they're lying? Look, Donald Trump, you can try in this argument all the time. That's fine. You can try and was that an old one? Someone said that was old? What was old? The polling data? This is from an hour ago. Which one was old? I don't know. I saw someone in chat saying that it was old. If it was old, I don't know. But those were both from today. If you want to deny that Donald Trump is down in the polls in the prediction markets, I think that's fine because I think they lie all the time. But you need to act as though they're ahead because they're going to lie, they're going to cheat, they're going to steal. Donald Trump, I don't know how he tries to win this argument They're playing dirty games. Republicans keep thinking that if we go out and we spread the right message, we're going to win. But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this, the Burisma scandal. Joe Biden said to the president of Ukraine, I believe it was Poroshenko, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion. How many people know that? How many people believed that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation? At least 6 or 7% more, maybe. Probably every single Democrat. I asked this question on Timcast IRL when we had the crew here. If people knew the truth, do you think they would vote for Donald Trump? And Shane says no, because of their emotional mind block. But I disagree. What I mean to say is, not if people were told the truth. You know, you go to someone and say, here's the truth. They're going to say, no, I refuse to believe it. I'm saying quite literally, people know for a fact the truth about everything. They'd vote for Donald Trump. They'd look at Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party, and they'd be like, geez. They'd look at the economy and they'd be like, geez, why? How do I know this? It's why moderates are favoring the Republican Party right now. It's why unregistered voters lean Republican. Right now, Democrats are worried because if you register a new voter, they're more likely to be a Republican than a Democrat because the truth is on our side. Not everybody knows the truth, however, but the truth is on our side. I believe that if every single person knew the truth, Trump would win. I don't think that literally every single person would vote for Trump. What I mean to say, when I'm being a bit hyperbolic, is there are a lot of people who are communists and who are far left and know the truth and still want to vote against Donald Trump. Most people, however, when looking at the American foreign policy failures over the past several decades, at the economy, they're going to be like, yeah, Trump makes sense. So I throw this to Joe Rogan because he did say RFK Jr. was the only one that made sense. Well, I'll say this. I don't think Joe believes that, you know. I mean, maybe he does believe it in the sense that he was just saying that RFK is not attacking people, and I do respect that. I personally believe Joe Rogan is going to vote for Donald Trump. Actually, I don't know that he will, because he might just be like, I'm not going to get involved or whatever. But I don't know how. And this is my conundrum. You could maintain the positions that Joe Rogan has maintained and then be like, but no Trump. But no Trump. You're talking about all of these things about DEI, wokeness, Kamala being nuts. And then you're like, not Trump? I don't buy it. In 2020, in the years up to 2020, I'm not going to vote for Trump. I would never vote for the guy. I don't want to be involved in this stuff. It's whatever. And then Trump released his second term campaign policy positions. And I was like, okay, well, you can't deny that. All good. All of it. Who am I going to vote for? So right now, as they're saying that it looks like Kamala is going to win, she's favored in the prediction markets. Hold on. The Daily Mail's got a poll saying Trump leads Harris by 2 points in Daily Mail poll as voters reveal their biggest hesitation about Kamala. So there are certainly polls suggesting Donald Trump is still winning despite these others. We have this from the top battlegrounds RCP average. As of August 14th, Trump is still winning in aggregate. Though Kamala has pulled slightly ahead, it is still 47.6 to 47. Trump's got the lead. You may be saying, Tim, that's so narrow, though. Let's take a look at this one. The general election, Kamala's up 1.1 points. Yeah, but that's popular vote, right? It doesn't mean much for winning battleground states. And here's where it really matters. CNN's top polling analyst, Trump likely doing a lot better than polls indicate. So this is the white pill moment. But I tell you this, take it all with a grain of salt, redouble your efforts. And I don't expect most people to do the most heavy lifting. I'm saying just talk to your friends and family. You know, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you're asking friends and family to get registered to vote. Make sure you're telling them about the truth. And let me play this clip for you. Daily Wire's got the story. CNN says the polls are underestimating Donald Trump and he's likely winning.
I want to take a step back and sort of point out we've kind of been here before. So August 13th, how far were the polls off in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin? And this is in 2016 and 2020. Trump was estimated both times around and by significant margins. Take a look here. In 2016, the average poll in those states that I mentioned, those Great Lake battleground states, Trump was underestimated by 9 points on average at this point in 2016. How about 2020? It wasn't a one-off. Look at this. He was underestimated by 5 points on average. And, of course, Kamala Harris's advantage in those New York Times Siena College polls were 4 points in each of these key battleground states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. The bottom line is this. If you have any idea, if you're a Kamala Harris fan and you want to rip open the champagne bottle, pop that cork, do not do it. Donald Trump is very much in this race. If we have a polling shift like we've seen in prior years from now until the final result, Donald Trump would actually win. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I am saying that he is very much in this ballgame based upon where he is right now, and compare that to where he was in prior years.
We certainly heard the Harris campaign saying we have to keep fighting.
Absolutely.
This is definitely not over. All right. Let's talk about enthusiasm and how that translates actually. We are quite a ways out, again, 3 months about.
Yeah, you know, yesterday I was mentioning, you know, the enthusiasm for the Democratic ticket was up. Yep. But that enthusiasm is not the same thing as going out to actually vote. And there's a different question, which essentially says, how certain are you actually going to go out and vote? And this is the top range. Almost certain to vote. Again, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. This is among registered voters. Look at this. Look at Kamala Harris now compared to where Joe Biden was back in May. In fact, 62% of Joe Biden voters said they were almost certain to turn out and vote. Now,
it's gone down.
It's actually gone down a little bit. I would call this in the same general area at 61%. But it's basically unchanged. And look at Donald Trump. He was at 58% in May. He's actually gone up a little bit now. He's at 60% now. Again, basically no real change. So the bottom line here is, yes, there may be more enthusiasm for Kamala Harris, but the fact is we're not seeing that necessarily translate in the almost certain vote. And one little other note, Sarah, I will note this. Donald Trump is more popular today than he was on August 13th in either 2020 or 2016. So the bottom line is, yes, Kamala Harris is doing better in the polls, but there's a long way to go. The polls can shift. The almost certain to vote hasn't actually shifted, and Donald Trump is more popular than he was at either 2016 or 2020 at this point.
Those are interesting data.
This is the smartest thing the Democrats over at CNN could do. They say we may have the polls, but Trump is still favored to win for these reasons. Meanwhile, you've got Republicans being like, the polls are fake, ignore them. Let me tell you the smart play. You want Trump to win. The polls don't matter. None of it matters. Assume they're winning. Always assume they are winning, and that you have to do the hardest work of your life. You cannot sit back. You see, what CNN's doing here is smart. Telling Trump supporters, you guys are actually winning. The polls are fake. Don't worry about it. And then Trump supporters are going to be like, woohoo, we're winning. We are ahead. You know how many videos I've seen go viral of premature celebration? Look it up. There's a subreddit for it. There's an Instagram account for it. There's an X account for it. I watched one the other day where a lady, it was a run, and then she's coming closer to the end, and then she looks around, slows down, and puts her arms up, and then a woman just goes boom right past her, and then her face is like, oh no, you lost. You do not get to celebrate until you cross that finish line in first place. Don't let CNN convince you otherwise. Don't let any conservative convince you otherwise. The race isn't over, and these signs you're seeing around you are meaningless. They should only make you want to redouble your efforts. But I'll give you some good news. I mean, look, the CNN stuff is good news. You got to boost morale. You got to make sure people feel like they can win, and you can. U.S. economy alarm bells as two signs of recessions emerge. I'll tell you this, to quote Bill Maher, to paraphrase Bill Maher, what did he say? If it gets rid of Donald Trump, bring on the recession. Yeah, I'm not in favor of that because recessions mean people starve, people die, and people lose their homes. But I will say I am not surprised that people voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and they have destroyed the economy, and now they are suffering. And from this, maybe a lot are going to wake up, vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not perfect. Donald Trump is a choice you got. Slightly better option. Take what you can get. Well, he's a substantially better option, to be completely honest. But this is the funny thing. The media, the Democrats, the leftists, the liberals, like, they don't live in reality. Let me tell you about reality. There are Trump's diehard supporters who like Trump. Cat Turd being one of them. If you don't know, he's a Twitter person, ex-personality. And then there are people who are going to vote for Trump. I don't consider myself to be a diehard Trump supporter at all. I consider myself to be someone who thinks Trump is funny, thinks he was a good president, the greatest of my lifetime. Ain't a high bar. But for the most part, yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever. I want for this country something better. I think there's better candidates out there than Donald Trump, but Donald Trump's who we have right now, and so he makes the most sense. There are people who want Trump to win no matter what, and run again and run again and run again. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I could do with a Ron DeSantis or a Vivek Ramaswamy if they were the options that we had, though I think Ron doesn't have the charisma and capability, and Vivek certainly does. I think Vivek should start lifting, though. He should get ripped. Vivek's fantastic. I mean, just follow the guy on X. He should be giving advice. He should be running Trump's campaign. Just outright. I mean, dude, Vivek is one of the smartest guys in politics right now, if not the smartest. I'm not kidding. His analysis is spot on. I couldn't agree with him anymore. And he's insightful and has made me consider many things. Many things. So shout out to Vivek Ramaswamy. We'll see where we end up after all of this. I tell you, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I voted in 2020. And it's not so much about this show being conservative or me being right wing or me being a Trump supporter. It's about the truth and what makes sense. Today, it's Donald Trump. Maybe tomorrow we get a new Democrat Party. I don't know. I think the hyperpolarization is burning everything to the ground. We'll wrap up that first segment, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and follow me on X at Timcast, and we'll start reading your super chats. Next up, we're going to talk about stolen valor. Tim Waltz is reeling, dude. This stuff really is hitting home. Democrats may be acting like it's not a big deal, but it's been over a week. This scandal will not go away, and they are freaking out over it. So we'll talk about that. I got a bunch of stuff pulled up on the stolen valor Tim Waltz stuff. It's huge, man. Tim Waltz is trying to downplay. He had to address it again the second time. It's not working. Vets are pissed. But we'll grab your super chats. All right, let's go. Jason Dixon says, howdy from Texas. First and second. UP Shoot says, wow, Democrats lie. Now I've heard everything. Ha ha. Jason Dixon says, I know that I've said this many times before, but with the pending closure of Home Depot, this is an indicator of our economy and it's beginning of a real collapse. You should get Travis with real estate mindset on your show. I don't think Home Depot is closing. I don't think Home Depot is closing at all. Let's see. Home Depot's earning reports have just dropped. They reported an increase of 0.6% from the second quarter. Total sales equals $1.3 billion. Represents approximately 6 weeks into the quarter. So they said a total reported sales of $43.2 billion for the second quarter. Yeah, I don't think they're closing. I don't think Home Depot is closing. There's a flooring company that's closing, but let's go. Kuman says, Tim, any time frame on Boonies decks? I used to be decent when I was a teen, and I'm considering getting back into it. Old vids at Cyclone Playa 34 on YouTube. The website is under construction for boonieshq.com. We got some great stuff on the way. I believe the boards are done. Samples were going to be arriving here shortly. And then they should be available really soon. And if you watch Timcast IRL, you can see the Step on Sneck and Find Out Boonies board. Well, we got updated graphics for all the boards, for the logos and everything as they've changed. So stick around. Dave says, yo, Tim, I just want to say I bought some coffee and my wife loves it. Ian Graphene Dream is her favorite because of health issues she has, but she also loves the pumpkin spice. Keep up the good work. Yeah, man, people are saying Ian's Graphene Dream is key. I guess the low acidity is better for your gut, and some people don't, like the acid doesn't sit right with them, so everyone's just like, it's easier. And it really is just, what makes it low acidity is it's a low acidity blend. We selected the lower acidity coffees and then blended them for the right flavor profile. We here are coffee connoisseurs. And, we mixed them together. We like what we like. We made something that tasted good and had low acidity, and it worked out. It's actually not that complicated. I do love how, like, things seem harder than they really are often. I watched a video of a guy making a computer from scratch, and I'm like, that is the most psychotic thing I've ever seen. How could humans do this? He's like, here's how you extract the denser elements and the lighter elements to get this particular element. And I'm just like, what? And then it's like, how do you make coffee? We picked the beans, we cooked them, and then we sniffed them, tasted them, and then put the ones we like together. And I'm like, that's actually really easy. Some things are easier than others, my friend. Alec Morales-Ortiz says, so JD putting a dress and a wig is weird, but men doing the same going to female bathrooms is fine. How transphobic. That's what I love. It's like, what? Grease Monkey says, hey, Tim, big fan. I would donate more, but my car windshield has a huge crack in it, so I got to spend it on repairs. Sad face. Safe Flight Repair. Not sponsored by them, but I see their commercials all the time, and their commercials are effective. Let's go. Channel name says former YouTube CEO died on Saturday. She did. Rest in peace, man. I don't know. People don't like her, but I just don't. I don't gloat when people die or anything like that. Redline says, should Rogan one-up Elon and interview Trump? Joe Rogan's interview of Donald Trump would be substantially better than Elon's. Elon's not an interviewer. The one thing I really was thinking during that conversation between Elon and Trump is that Elon is just a fan. He's relatively new to the heavy political space. He's doing great work. His influence is tremendous and a net positive. But I think it should have actually been Elon, Trump, and one other person. One other person. That's why Joe Rogan would probably do a better job. What have we here? What have we here? Jay Grizz says, have you heard any news about the Attorney General's malicious prosecution case against New York City? Last thing I heard was Supreme Court was demanding that New York City respond to the allegations. Interesting. Malicious. Oh, are you talking about Andrew Bailey in Missouri? Yes. So New York did respond, and they basically said it was ludicrous and the state has no standing to interfere with what we do. And now the Supreme Court will have to issue their response. All right, let's go. Kooky Kamala. We'll grab one more here before we jump to the next segment. Rich says polls can be fixed by oversampling Dems. The voter registration data doesn't. Dems have been losing voters since 2020. Indeed they have. Chuck Wild says, Tim, have you seen the new movie simulation game called War Game? It's by the Heritage Foundation and depicts violence if Trump loses. I had a Walmart employee told me they were being shown this prepare for riots. Nuts. The thing about these war games is that we were talking about doing a D&D, Dungeons & Dragons style war game. For those that are familiar with how D&D works, you each get a character, they have stats, and then the game master will basically guide a story, and then you as the players can make decisions on how you interact within the confines of that story, or you can get really silly with it. Then you roll die to determine whether you succeed or fail. The idea for the political campaign war game would be getting like 6 people, having each person represent someone like Trump, J.D. Vance, Kamala Harris, Obama, and what you would do in these events. So a game master would say, like, here's a scenario, and then based on what you do, it changes things. The problem is we can just say whatever we want. That's what Democrats did last time. Oh, we're going to have the West Coast secede from the Union. Yeah. All right, we'll grab a couple more here. Richelgy? The Joe Rogan situation was extremely stupid. Not only can the man vote and like whoever he wants, but also, does Cat Turd think Joe won't talk about this absurd reaction on JRE? Makes me wonder if Cat Turd got paid by Kamala. I gotta tell you, my friends, sometimes it does seem like it, doesn't it? I doubt it. But think about it. Kamala Harris was probably clapping and dancing along with Hillary Clinton when Cat Turd started attacking Joe Rogan. They're like, yes, burn those bridges with moderates. Did you guys see the clip from Kill Tony, Madison Square Garden, sold out? Shane Gillis asked Trump, saying, Joe Rogan endorsed RFK Jr. He's very weak. He's a weak man. And then Joe Rogan walks out. The crowd goes nuts. They're screaming. Why would you make enemies of these people? Trump should go on Kill Tony. That would be awesome. That would be so funny. Hilarious. But you know what? That's why they call MAGA a cult, because you've got people like him who are sitting there ready to guzzle down the garbage and just attack anybody who doesn't worship Donald Trump. Oh, it is vomitous. Their own worst enemies. I certainly hope, so like Brucewitz or Trump Jr. or somebody called up Cat Turd and told him to shut the up. Don't attack Joe Rogan. Are you nuts? One of the biggest podcasts in the world, representing moderates. And every day, Joe is ragging on wokeness and other these garbled policies. He is red-pilling people in real time. Many of those people, not all, will end up voting for Donald Trump. Let me tell you what Joe Rogan says in response. He says, don't get political information from me. Go to Dave Smith. Dave Smith is the libertarian presidential candidate we all wanted. I'm a realist. I'm a pragmatist. I would prefer a Dave Smith presidency every step of the way, but I'm a realist. He's not going to win. And Donald Trump is what we have. And I'll take it. Donald Trump moves us in the right direction in a lot of ways. But Joe Rogan saying, shout out Dave Smith. Dave Smith is calling out the BS across the board. And guess what? The Mises Caucus people are going to vote for Donald Trump. Shut up. Shut up. I got to tell you, man, this is why I'm not a Republican. Not just ideologically, like I'm not a conservative, moderate. And the reason why I don't like the Republican Party, and the reason why I'm not a diehard Trump supporter, I think Trump is the right pick. I think Trump's got issues. I think there's a lot of diehard Trump supporters who are their own worst enemies, fervent, garbled nonsense. I believe the tendency on the left is to be in a cult, and I believe there are people on the right who are cultish. But again, the left is the tendency, the right is the some of them. So for the love of all that is holy, stop attacking people who are helping you. That's just stupid. If Joe Rogan came out and said that, you know, he was diehard Trump and you got to vote Trump, 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 a lot of people would be like, I don't want to be associated with that. So let Joe Rogan come out and say RFK Jr., I guess, because in the end, RFK Jr. voters, he's either going to steal from the Democrats or the more moderates are going to vote for Donald Trump because RFK Jr. is not going to win. His polls are declining. Anyway, let's do this. Let's jump to this next story. From Politico.com, Tim Waltz defends military service record after Vance stolen valor accusation. I just like to say it's not Vance's stolen valor accusation. I don't know that Vance has actually accused him of stolen valor. It's gone viral across the internet. My friends, this is big. The weakness right now for Democrats is that Tim Waltz lied about his military record. He printed challenge coins with a rank he did not have. He said he carried weapons of war in war. And he's even got the anti-Trump conservatives being like, yeah, he did this. Stolen valor. Say what you will. You know, I wonder. They say the Stolen Valor Act of 2013 is when you claim to have a medal you did not get. And so there's a fine line between saying you served in war and saying that you got a medal you did not get. But after a week plus of the stolen valor story, the scandal, bubbling up, they've now addressed the issue twice. It will not go away. It has staying power, and the Democrats are likely burning up inside because of it. Waltz would not be talking about this if the Democrat internals were not causing alarm. Check this out. And J.D. Vance has responded masterfully. Politico reports, Minnesota Governor Tim Waltz fiercely defended his military service on Tuesday, following a barrage of Republican attacks arguing you should never denigrate another person's service record. Who did? Who did? See, they're trying to lie now. The question is, why did you say you were a retired command sergeant major when you were not? Why did you say you carried weapons of war in war when you did not? Why did you come back? And he has this speech where he's like, when we got back, they gave us the horse whisper and said, be nice. But there's people like, well, he was talking about PTSD from being in Afghanistan and Iraq. And he says, when we came back, this guy, I want to give a shout out to Jesse Kelly. He said, I'm still laughing about Tim Waltz whining about the PTSD care he got when he got back from deployment, a deployment to Italy. That's just so classic. Poor Tim got some cold pasta, just hasn't been right since. Oh, man. Braxton McCoy says, how much do you want to bet he has a 100% at the VA, too? PTSD is mandatory 50% now, I think. Can we check this? Can we figure this out? What percentage disability Tim Waltz is getting after his retirement? Minnesota, he says, quote, I'm going to say it as clearly as I can. I'm damn proud of my service to this country, the Democrat nominee for vice president said. To anyone brave enough to put on that uniform for our great country, including my opponent, I just have a few simple words. Thank you for your service and sacrifice. Waltz's comments mark the first time he has publicly defended his military record after Republican Senator J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate, alleged last week that Waltz misconstrued his military experience and accused him of stolen valor. Did J.D. Vance actually say stolen valor? Because I don't know that that's the case. Okay, we can't pull this up. I don't know that he actually did. I think that's just been the general talking point. And let me see if we can figure this out. You guys comment below and let me know in the chat. Oh, here we go. I got the article. Vance runs a swift boat against Waltz's military service. Show me the quote. Show me the quote. He has not spent a day in a combat zone. Vance, who deployed to Iraq as a combat correspondent in the Marines, but did not experience combat, told reporters at a campaign event in Michigan, "Do not pretend to be something that you're not. I'd be ashamed if I was him, and I lied about my military service like he did." I don't see where he claimed stolen valor. Is that why they put it in quotes? Because he didn't actually say it? And there you go. That's the quote right there. In the week since Vice President Kamala Harris announced him as her running mate, Waltz's 24-year record as in the Army National Guard has become a target of attack for Republicans. The accusations were spearheaded by Vance, who criticized the timing of Waltz's retirement from the military as a means of avoiding deployment to Iraq. There is no evidence that Waltz retired to avoid a wartime deployment. Neither Waltz nor Vance, who served in the Marine Corps for 4 years, have combat experience. You see how they phrase that? There is no evidence that he retired to avoid deployment. That's not what anyone's saying. They're saying that he got word deployment was coming, filed to retire, and wanted to run for Congress instead. And the criticism is actually, it's 50-50. It's people who are vets saying, hey, look, man, I was planning my retirement, or I was going to be moving, or whatever. When they said I may get deployed soon, I said, you let me know. I'll stick around and wait to find out, before orders actually came in. No one's suggesting that Waltz panicked and ran and hid in a closet. They're saying they don't think he should have retired knowing deployment was on the table. He should stay and serve his country. Some people think that he should have made that sacrifice. It's up to him, I guess. I reckon, I understand why he's being criticized for it. It is what it is. The big issue to me is that he lied about his rank over and over and over and over for a decade plus. He lied about his rank. And he claimed he carried weapons of war in war because he's doing this to win political power. He makes it seem like when he's at this meeting, they gave us the horse whisper and said, be nice. What are you talking about, dude? You were in Italy. Like, it's fine. You did a job that needed to be done, and I respect that. But why are you acting like you suffered in the Middle East? Lying. He says, with my dad's encouragement, a guy who served in the Army during the Korean War, I signed up for the Army National Guard 2 days after my 17th birthday. I served for the next 24 years for the same reason that all my brothers and sisters in uniform do. We love this country. Then in 2005, I felt the call of duty again, this time to be in service to my country in the halls of Congress. Vance responded. We got this from J.D. Vance. He says, hi, Tim. I thank you for your service, but you shouldn't have lied about it. You shouldn't have said you went to war when you didn't, nor should you have said that you didn't know your unit was going to Iraq. Happy to discuss more in a debate. Tim Waltz is trying to play it up as though the criticism was that he served. And you know, there's going to be stupid people who believe it.
I felt the call of duty again, this time of being service to my country in the halls of Congress. My students inspired me to run for that office, and I was proud to make it to Washington. I was a member of the Veterans Affairs Committee and a champion of our men and women in uniform.
Spare me. From Fox News, viral montage shows Tim Waltz falsely being identified as retired Command Sergeant Major over a dozen times. The Minnesota governor has been facing intense scrutiny since becoming Kamala Harris's running mate. Over a dozen times. Here we go.
As a 24-year veteran of the Army National Guard and a retired Command Sergeant Major.
Lie.
As a retired Sergeant Major in the Army National Guard out of Minnesota.
Oh, that was interesting. Listen to this.
As a retired Sergeant Major.
Retired Command Sergeant Major.
As a retired Sergeant Major in the Army.
He says retired Sergeant Major in that one.
National Guard out of Minnesota.
Retired out as Command Sergeant Major.
I spent 24 years in the military, Congressman, as a Command Sergeant Major. I know
Tim Walz is one of those everyday people. Coach to the state champs. Teacher of the year. Command Sergeant Major.
I am a retired Command Sergeant Major in the Minnesota National Guard.
I am a retired Sergeant Major in the Army National Guard.
You see, this is interesting. Retired Sergeant Major. Let me do this because some people were saying that what they in the media, they've said it goes Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major, and some people have said actually it's Master Sergeant. So let's do this. List of enlisted rank, National Guard. We'll get it. I'll get it for you guys. And let's see. Let's see. It's just annoying that it's not so easy to pull up. I know a lot of people are going to be posting it. It's like that's the Air Force. It's not giving me the National Guard. This is why I use ChatGPT, to be completely honest, because Google does not work. Their Google AI List the Army National Guard ranks from lowest to highest. Enlisted ranks. That's what we want to get to. All right, ChatGPT, take it away. Let's see if you can get it right. We got it generating. So it says, oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah, so here's the list. It says Private E1, Private E2, Private First Class, Specialist, Corporal, Sergeant, Staff Sergeant, Sergeant First Class, Master Sergeant, First Sergeant, Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major. This is interesting because a lot of reports said that he did not retire as an E9. He retired as an E8. That would imply that he wasn't even a Sergeant Major. He was a First Sergeant. Is that what it is? Can you guys give me that breakdown? He's saying he was a Command Sergeant Major. But let me see if I can pull this up. This is interesting because that would mean that if he was an E8, he wasn't even a Sergeant Major. What am I getting wrong here? Because I think he was reportedly retired as an E8. Is that what that is? So he wasn't even a Sergeant Major? Is that? That's hard. I'm not an Army guy. Let's go back to play that video for you. You can listen to more.
What I consider to be the responsibility and the privilege of being the highest ranking enlisted personnel ever to serve in Congress. And I'm the Democrats.
What rank was that?
Command Sergeant Major.
So when you first came to Washington, you were a retired Command Sergeant Major in the Army National Guard. So
I was an enlisted soldier for all those years, and care of troops and making sure they have the right equipment is paramount. So
he's a coach to the state football champs, and he's a Command Sergeant Major in the Army National Guard. And I get to introduce to you my favorite coworker, who achieved the rank of Command Sergeant Major in the Army National Guard, and someone who proudly wears the Red Bull whenever he can. So please join me in welcoming our governor, a veteran, Governor Tim Waltz.
17, served 24 years, including in Operation Enduring Freedom, retired as a Command Sergeant Major, which makes him the highest ranking enlisted soldier to ever serve in the United States Congress.
I will tell you what's funny. It looks like his Wikipedia page was edited to remove the fact that he did not, that he retired not as a Command Sergeant Major. Look at this. They changed it. It says Waltz attained the rank of Command Sergeant Major near the end of his service and briefly was the senior enlisted soldier. That's absolutely fascinating because this is a dramatic... what do we have? Has anybody given us a breakdown? Vinny the D says E8 is Master Sergeant, First Sergeant, E9, Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major of the Army. So someone says, please watch Angry Cop's explanation. A little confusing for non-military. Indeed it is. There was one report. Clan McCracken says he never completed the school to obtain the E9 rank. He retired as an E8, which is not a Sergeant Major. A Command Sergeant Major is a special rank among Sergeant Majors. Wow. So he was actually, what, a First Sergeant then?
This is Congressman Waltz from Minnesota. He's a retired Sergeant Major in the Army.
A retired Command Sergeant Major in the National Guard.
Interesting.
Represents Minnesota's 1st Congressional District.
Let's try this. What rank did Tim Waltz retire as? Give it to me straight, ChatGPT. Look at that. Tim Waltz retired from the Army National Guard with the rank of Command Sergeant Major. No, he didn't. Let's see what it says. It's going to be like, you're correct, my mistake. Master Sergeant. Is that for real? He was a Master Sergeant? He really lied that much. Wow, that's crazy. Cernovich says this in response to the Tim Waltz statement addressing a service. The stolen valor issues, quote, doesn't matter so much that multiple media outlets have tried to downplay J.D. Vance's service 1 week after they broke the story, and they're still spinning. What do we have here? Even the Bulwark is bringing this up. The Bulwark points this out because the Bulwark, of course, is supposed to be conservative but anti-Trump. This is apocalyptically bad for these people. 6 things to know about Tim Waltz's stolen valor claims. What about J.D. Vance's military service? Oh, what about it? I don't care. J.D. Vance isn't going around lying about his service. They say the story's still evolving. These people hate Trump, so they're really worried. Waltz served honorably. I'll give him that. I really will. They say that for 24 years he served. Even the people in his battalion said, by all accounts, he was good at the work that he did up until he bounced out. J.D. Vance served honorably. Respect. I agree. Ducking deployments. They say, well, a lot of people try to duck deployments. That's true. A lot of people do. But then we get here. Weapons of war in support of Afghanistan and stolen valor. The Bulwark writes, a video making the rounds shows Waltz apparently in the last couple of weeks arguing against assault weapons, saying, we can make sure those weapons of war that I carried in war are only carried in war. I must admit I found these comments foolish, but not for the same reason that Waltz critics pillory him. I carried all sorts of weapons in war, knives, hatchets, shotguns, and various handguns. Those are weapons of war, right? Instead, J.D. Vance and his allies have zeroed in on the I carried in war part of Waltz's statement. I just want to point out, the whole statement was stupid. I hate the weapons of war garbage. Every weapon is a weapon of war. You could people tie a padlock to a shoelace and you throw it at someone and then pull it. Like, I don't know. They use slings. I'm sure in war, someone's got a bolas. What are you going to do? You ban everything? But he said he went to war. He says, so what counts as going to war? Obviously, fighting in a combat zone would count as going to war. But what about being sent to Iraq and Afghanistan and serving in support roles, but not seeing combat like J.D. Vance? This is, of course, not a slam against combat correspondence. During my time in Afghanistan, I had the honor of giving a combat cam a ride through some of the most dangerous battlefields in Afghanistan. Rather, it shows that even having the term combat in your job description does not necessarily mean you saw or experienced combat. So what? So what? J.D. Vance isn't going around claiming that he was fighting anybody. Combat correspondence, a legit job, by the way. Going to a combat zone to document what's going on, that's intel gathering. The reports that you can bring back are absolutely necessary to win a conflict. It's not just about satellite imagery. It's not just about espionage and word of mouth. It's about seeing firsthand what's going on, recording it, and bringing that information back. He goes on to say, often service members will receive medals or ribbons that showed they were either shot at or returned fire, e.g. the Combat Action Badge or the Combat Action Medal. But even then, the military does not always get it right. For example, one of my closest brothers in arms spent a year fighting as an enabler with various maneuver units. However, because he was attached to those units, but not as a member of them, nobody from his higher headquarters put him in for a combat medal, which he earned. Is he a combat veteran or not? Yes. And he can literally say, I did serve alongside people in combat doing X, Y, and Z. I don't know what there is to defend, right? It's a veterans issue, not a veterans issue. These people at the Bulwark can't even outright just defend Tim Waltz, though they desperately try to. This is bad for him. Okay? Look at this one. The Express Tribune. Wikipedia scrubs J.D. Vance's military honors, sparking bias controversy. Well, of course. Nick Sorter says Wikipedia had shamelessly scrubbed J.D. Vance's military awards from the website after it was revealed Tim Waltz stolen after it revealed Tim Waltz stolen valor. Wikipedia has been hijacked by the woke left. Don't trust them. Is this a fact check? Did he really retire as an E8, which is not even a sergeant major? And he keeps saying he is? That's crazy. I thought it was that he got sergeant major. Then they assigned him command sergeant major, but he never completed it. So he wasn't actually a command sergeant major. But now I'm learning, because I don't know this stuff, that he wasn't even an E9 at all. Wow, that's crazy. Or that he got knocked down from it, that he didn't complete the required training, but he's going around claiming he did. Here we go. Wall Street Journal opinion. Readers debate Tim Waltz and stolen valor. This is from yesterday. I needed to be able to look at myself in the mirror in the morning and not run away into retirement when my name was called. As one of thousands of selected reservists and guardsmen who left families behind and answered the call to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan in support of operations in combat zone, I beg to differ with your editorial's mild characterization of Tim Waltz's retirement timing. After 24 years of accepting a paycheck and being on deck to serve and lead men he trained in combat, he chose to use his retirement eligibility to avoid putting himself in harm's way. He wasn't alone. I watched more than one personal acquaintance choose this way to avoid deployment. The result was that other sailors had to take their places and risk their lives. Countless heart-wrenching conversations between reservists or guardsmen and their families ended with the explanation that I gave mine. If not me, then some other reservist and his family will be left with the same choice. My retirement eligibility also offered me a way out. But in the end, I needed to be able to look at myself in the mirror in the morning and not run away into my retirement when my name was called. I'm not sure how the governor of Minnesota does it. I would be ashamed. Captain Pete Gurney, USNR, retired. Wow. Knocking Waltz's military service is really grasping at straws. Stop. Nobody is. Nobody is criticizing 24 years of military service. They're criticizing lies. So as soon as you bring that up, Not interested. You clearly don't know what's actually going on. I don't know why Wall Street Journal included this. If you're not paying attention, step aside. The adults are talking. This is Colonel Dean Matchek saying, mobilization orders for National Guard units aren't a surprise delivered by carrier pigeon. They are often they are official confirmation of momentous decisions made previously. It was Mr. Waltz's job as the senior enlisted leader in his Guard unit in a time of war to be informed and keep his troops informed of the latest scheduling that could upend their lives. That he drew a paycheck for decades in the Guard, then chose to retire during active hostilities shortly before his opportunity to lead the combat zone tells me all I need to know about Command Sergeant Major Tim Waltz. Oh, wow. Ice cold. I think he used that rank as a dig because he knows it's not real. We got this one from Commander Hal D'Antone. I live near Naval Air Station Kingsville, a training base for jet pilots. The base gym is named after Rochester Santiago, a local boy. He was a mess cook on a destroyer. He peeled potatoes and scrambled eggs for 250 people. Safe job, huh? But he was on the USS Cole and was killed when the ship was attacked by terrorists in 2000. Anybody who raises his or her right hand and swears to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign or domestic, has given the government a blank check, cashable for up to their lives. What title or position they held simply isn't relevant to whether they served. I got no problem with that. But once again, no one's criticizing him having enlisted. Even J.D. Vance says, I thank you for your service. What is this line that the directors keep saying where they're like, how dare you insult a man for serving? Nobody is. Is that all they have? Nancy Pelosi's mad about it. Yeah. Must read Alaska. I love this because it's very small. Shout out to Alaska. Take the poll. Does Tim Waltz's stolen valor matter? And they say in their poll for their local outlet, 396 people said it will hurt him. 82 people said it will not hurt him. Well, it's a small website talking about Alaska, so I don't know if it means all that much. But hey, there you go. How about we criticize him for this? Tim Waltz has got a DUI. You know what? I'm not going to hold it against him all that much, but Tim Waltz has got a DUI. How about that? J.D. Vance, this is the big scandal. While Tim Waltz is being called out for lying about his rank over and over and over again and saying he went to war, they're actually trying to play this J.D. Vance in drag. Oh, man. Here you go. Here's J.D. Vance, and he's like wearing a dress. He's got eyeshadow on, and he's got a wig on. Don't care. I don't know who you're trying to convince. If you think Trump supporters, staunch conservatives, are going to abandon Trump and J.D. Vance, why don't you go read Cat Turd's Twitter account? The dude attacks Joe Rogan. If you think moderate post-liberals like me are going to abandon Donald Trump because J.D. Vance once wore a dress at a party, probably a frat party or something, I don't think you understand modern politics, okay? Take a look at this. Where's the stupid... Prior to 2021, Vance was an open supporter of LGBTQ causes. In law school and at Vance, don't ask, don't tell. A source who knew the Statesman told the Daily Beast, I got news for all of you. I actually worked on behalf of the Human Rights Campaign, fundraising in California, and I'm pretty sure in Chicago. I think I did it was in Chicago as well. It might have just been in California. I don't know. I raised money for these causes. You want to know what's funny? Back when there was this phone call they did where they were talking about gay marriage, support for gay marriage. How can we advance gay marriage? And I was like, I'm going to help raise money for that cause. Certainly I did. And then on the phone call, they said, what about transgender issues? And the HRC said, no. The people don't like that. You're not going to win. We're not interested. And it caused a huge problem between various nonprofits. You see where I was back then, 14 or so years ago? This is like 15 years ago, maybe. So when you say Vance used to support LGBTQ causes, yeah, I did too, until you started putting books in schools with weird adult stuff in it that we don't think kids should have. Yo, this affected liberals. We're mostly in the same position we've always been. I'm not gonna go, oh heavens, oh geez, J.D. Vance wore a wig. I'm gonna be like, ha, look at him. That's funny. I bet he lost a bet. I don't care about that. Is that your scandal? I'll tell you this, even as a moderate, disaffected liberal, I'm looking at Tim Waltz being like, dude lied. People seem pissed. And good luck convincing Trump's most ardent supporters to abandon him over J.D. Vance wearing a wig one time. And then I'll just add this. Attacking Donald Trump over a quote-unquote lisp, slush, and then, like insulting his speech impediment. When they kept defending Joe Biden's speech impediment, he has a stutter. How dare you? How dare you? Then they're like, haha, Donald Trump's got a lisp. hypocrites. Now they're going like, oh, yeah, well, J.D. Vance did drag. Shouldn't you be happy about that? No, they're trying to make the argument that Trump supporters should disavow J.D. Vance because one time at a party he wore a dress and a wig. I think he just lost a bet, dude. It's really that simple. There was a sporting event and they were like, who do you got for the Super Bowl? And he's probably like, I don't know, the 49ers or something. And then they lose. I don't know who won back then or when this was. And then they're like, now you got to wear a dress and go to the party. And he's like, all right, a bet's a bet. Or I don't know, it was Halloween. Who cares? Thanks for your scandal, I guess. But let me just wrap it up. Why I bring this up? The Tim Waltz stolen valor scandal is hurting Democrats bigly. And they know it. That's why Waltz has had to bring it up twice now. Check it out. I'm going to wrap this segment up there. The next segment we got coming up for you, ladies and gentlemen, Google on the chopping block. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Next segment will be up at 4 p.m. on this channel. For those that are watching live, we are going to your super chats right now. And for everybody else, we will see you all at 4. Let's go. We'll grab some of your here super chats and we'll break this down. Thrust McTrunk Punch says, Sergeant Major is the rank. Command Sergeant Major is a billet, or is it billet, similar to a position at a company. You don't need to be the rank in order to hold the billet. He didn't get the promotion from management. Indeed. I suppose it's similar to any corporate job. Like I mentioned the other day, I was an acting crew chief. And so the position of acting crew chief is, so I'll put it this way. I think this is probably similar how it works, right? You get promoted to the rank of crew chief, but it's not your official job. So I was promoted and I received a pay raise. I was then able to apply for these positions, but you were a crew chief when you were actually assigned a zone. If you were temporarily holding a zone for someone who was sick because you were of the same rank, position, I shouldn't call it rank, but position, you were acting as a crew chief despite holding the eligibility requirements. So I got a pay raise. I was mostly doing... I think I did a lot of de-icing in the winter because that was the best. Like if it didn't snow, you'd sit around. Sometimes it was cold and you still had to get the frost off the planes. But you took a test, you got promoted, you were officially eligible for the job of crew chief. But if you didn't actually get assigned it, you were just an acting crew chief. I guess that's what you're saying. Like you promoted to sergeant major, but until you're actually assigned command, you're just a sergeant major. Is that what it is? Ryan O says, the polls are a lie. Richard Bears and Robert Barnes cover this. Harris is betting that fake polls and headlines will suppress enough to win. We need to fight knowing they are fake and need a turnout that is big enough for the lies. I think you just need to, maybe they're going for normies who think Trump's not going to win anyway. I don't know, though. I think the narrative needs to be Donald Trump took a bullet for you. You can go out and vote for him. I think that should be the message that's delivered, to be completely honest. Donald Trump took a bullet for you. You can go out and vote for him. Do not stay home. Do not stay home. Not this time. Whether you think you will win or you think you will lose, you will stand proud at your polling location. You will look to the American flag, and win or lose, you will have done your duty to save and serve your country. Some do more than others. Some sign up, enlist, they go overseas, they serve the interests of this nation so that the rest of us can live comfortably and safely. On November 5th, you will do your duty in honor of the men and women who have served, some giving the ultimate sacrifice, and in respect for Donald Trump, who literally took a bullet for this country, a man who by all rights should have retired, should be sitting comfortably in his own private golden movie theater in his penthouse above New York, sipping margaritas and pina coladas, seeing his grandkids, going on boat rides in the Mediterranean, a billionaire who instead decided to stand up for his country, for what he believes, to the point where someone shot him, narrowly striking his brain. But fortunately, it was only his ear. Unfortunately, the bullets traveled beyond him and killed several other American patriots who gave their lives just to stand up for what they believed in on this one day. It's not just about Donald Trump. If he can take a bullet and pledge to return to Butler, PA, and continue doing his rallies and refuse to give up, and only a day, 24 hours or so later, he's back at work at the RNC and his family, you can go out on November 5th and cast that vote, whether you think you're going to win or going to lose. Because when you cast that vote, you're saying thank you to everybody who's doing the hard work to make it so that you can live a comfortable life in this country. That's all. That's all you have to do. That's all they're asking. That's the message. Let's grab a couple more super chats. All right. Shifter 5W says CSM is a lateral promotion from Sergeant Major. It's the same E grade. CSM is a command position where Sergeant Major is usually a staff position. MSG and Master Sergeant and First Sergeant are both E8s. First Sergeant is a command position, same E grade, one has more responsibility. So quite literally, I saw reported that he was an E8. ChatGPT was like, he was a Command Sergeant Major. Sorry, you're right, he was an E8. I should ask ChatGPT why I got it wrong. So, Steph D says, finally someone got it right. What is it? Shifter. Yep, Shifter 5W. Rusty Shackelford says, look up military frocking. That's probably what Tim Waltz did. I don't know what that is. Let's jump to this next segment, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. We've got this from the New York Times. Google stock falls as government weighs breaking up the company. This is big. We need to get a better source. But we've got to talk about what's currently going on. The New York Times source, let me get a better one for you. Google breakup and get the finer details because that was an audio thing, I think. Here we go. This is the right source. U.S. said to consider a breakup of Google to address search monopoly. The DOJ said and state attorneys general are discussing various scenarios to remedy Google's dominance in online search, including breaking up the company. You hear that, Google? You know what's funny is that Google's a beast, a behemoth. I don't think there's any one person right now watching at YouTube, and I know they are watching. I don't think there's any one person watching who actually has enough authority to do anything about this, nor care. It's funny because we have a bunch of different Google connections. Google Ads, YouTube, of course. What is it? There's ancillary Google companies that are like, I've got connections with Google News, and they're all different companies. So it's funny because someone from the ads side was like talking to us. And then I asked someone from the YouTube side about what we're doing with ads. And they're like, I have no idea. I don't know how any of that works. And I'm like, you guys have Google email addresses. You don't work at the same company. And they're like, yeah, we basically don't. Like, that guy's probably in an entirely other country or something. The New York Times says Google was found last week to have violated antitrust laws by illegally maintaining a monopoly on internet search. Now discussions over how to fix those violations have begun. Justice Department officials are considering what remedies to ask a federal judge in order to order against the search giant, said three people with knowledge of the deliberations involving the agency and state attorneys general who helped bring the case. They're discussing various proposals, including breaking off parts of Google, such as its Chrome browser or Android smartphone operating system, two of the people said. Other scenarios under consideration include forcing Google to make its data available to rivals or mandating that it abandon deals that made its search engine the default option on devices like the iPhone, said the people who declined to be identified because the process is confidential. The government is meeting with other companies and experts to discuss their proposals for limiting Google's power, the people said. The deliberations are in their early stages. Judge Amit P. Mehta of U.S. District Court for D.C., who is overseeing the case, has asked the DOJ and Google to come up with a process for determining a fix by September 4th. He has scheduled a hearing on September 6th to discuss the next steps. Last week's ruling that Google was a monopolist was a landmark antitrust decision, raising serious questions about the power of tech giants in the modern internet era. Apple, Amazon, and Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, also face antitrust cases. Google is scheduled to go to trial in another antitrust case, this one over ad technology next month. Any remedies in Google's search case are likely to reverberate and influence that broader landscape. The stakes are actually high for Google, which became a $2 trillion internet juggernaut by building an online advertising business and others on top of its search engine. Judge Mehta could reshape the core of the company's business or order it to abandon longtime practices that have helped to cement its dominance. Google generated $175 billion in revenue from its search engine and related businesses last year. The DOJ is evaluating the court's decision. A spokesman for the agency said in a statement, no decisions have been made at this time. The Google spokesman declined to comment. The company has pledged to appeal the ruling. Bloomberg News early reported the details of the discussion. Remedies in antitrust cases can have profound effects. In 2000, a federal judge ruled against Microsoft in an antitrust case and ordered the company to be split up. A breakup was reversed on appeal, but key legal findings were upheld. Afterward, Microsoft did not exert its dominance over the emerging internet industry, creating room for young companies like Google to thrive. The Justice Department and a group of states brought the search lawsuit against Google in 2020. It went to trial last year alongside a second similar lawsuit brought by a different group of state attorneys general. On August 5th, Judge Mehta ruled that Google had illegally maintained a monopoly over general online search services and some of the ads that run in search results. Their stock is falling. They've got some crazy ideas, but we will see. This is massive, ladies and gentlemen. The end of Google is going to reshape the political landscape as we know it. First, let me tell you a story. I know a guy. I don't know what he sold. He sold like knickknacks or something. And his whole business was online sales. And he made a good living. One day, Google decided to change the algorithm. And all of a sudden, his website didn't appear in search anymore. Everything he had built up to generate proper search engine optimization was gone. His sales evaporated. That was it. That to me is insane. And we cannot have an economy that functions that way. Back in the olden days, you'd buy a piece of real estate. Let's say you buy a property in an empty field. 20 years later, residential developments are popping up. 10 years later, massive urban buildings are popping up. There's stores all around. And here's your little store in a prime location. Your revenue is dramatically increased. Your building's improved. You've got several children. They're running the store now. And you're like, this is it. Now imagine with the internet, you set up online. You sell a product most people don't know or care about. How about 50 caliber pens? I got one over here. It's a 50 caliber bullet, but it's actually a pen. You pull the pen out. Let's say you're selling those. No one else is selling them. So you got prime real estate. People search for it. They find you on Google. They buy your product. You're making a living. A year goes by, and this real estate, gone. Google comes in and says, we're changing the algorithm. You're out. Imagine if someone set up a shop in a barren field, that developments came around, and then one day the government came and said, we are forcing your shop to go far, far away. You're going to be like, whoa. We've been here for a long time. We built this business. We have foot traffic. That's how we sustain it. And they say, no. We're moving your business to a barren wasteland. You'd be done. It'd be the end. You'd have nothing. That's what's happening with Facebook, with Google, and these other platforms. With YouTube. You know, there are people who built YouTube channels, followed the rules completely, and then YouTube sabotages those channels for political reasons. And then people end up losing their livelihoods. So I warn people all the time, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. Several years ago, when we started Timcast IRL, for instance, 100%, well, okay, it's an exaggeration. It's about 95% of the revenue for the company was YouTube ad revenue. That's it. I'd take a look at YouTube, see how much money in ads we were getting from the clips and the videos and the live streams, and I'd be like, that's how much money we're making. And it was insane. And then I thought about it. If we get banned, it goes to zero. And at the time, I only had like 2 employees or whatever, so it was just basically me. And I was like, okay, we need to build something else. So I started posting to Spotify and iTunes, the podcast platforms, and started the website, Timcast.com. And it was fairly rudimentary, but it was like, be a member. And instantly, we got to the point where we had offset that risk. Google as a monopoly is a nightmarish thing to consider. It is like living in communist China and running a business. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Google, it's like having the Chinese Communist Party come and just say, we are destroying your business to build a highway, and there's nothing you can do about it. Worse still is how it affects politics, and this is going to be massive. Google interferes in politics 100%. We saw this with Dr. Robert Epstein, who's talked about how Google, Facebook, and other platforms can control algorithms to benefit Democrats, and that Google's actively flipping votes. Actively. That means he basically has described it as, if you search for Trump, you get Kamala. You search for Kamala, you get Kamala. Look what Kamala Harris's campaign is doing now. You search for a news story, Kamala bought ads that Google allows where she changes the headline of a news story to make it look like the news favors her. That's what Google is doing. If Google gets broken up, this could rupture the ability for YouTube to function properly. YouTube, of course, being subsidized. The search on Google is going to be interesting because YouTube is the second largest search engine for videos. How this ends up, my friends, I cannot say. What I can tell you is we know the machine is rigged. So I don't see how this plays out in a way that ultimately does make it better for us. My concern is that the breaking up of Google will simply be to the betterment of the establishment and the deep state. They say, oh, geez, we've had to split the ad company and the search company, so now it's all split up. That means YouTube ad revenue is gone. YouTube then says, we're going to start charging. What happens when YouTube says, we're going to start charging for bandwidth? If you put up a video, you got to pay. Do you know how much it would cost? Google subsidizes this, and I understand it. Understand this, ladies and gentlemen. Right now in this live stream, we're live here in the morning, 10 a.m., come hang out. About 25,000 people watching. Upload rate is probably around 6 or 7 megabits per second. Multiply that by 25K. That's how much it costs to do a live stream when you're not on YouTube, one of these big platforms. In the early days of live streaming mobile, going to like Ustream and these other companies that we'd say like, what's the rate for streaming? They say, boom, it's going to be 30 grand. And you're like, what? Google could then come out and say, we're going to have to charge a flat rate for anybody who wants a channel. And you'd be thinking, no way, that would hurt YouTube too much. No, they're going to get the same amount of views. They already have siloed off independent voices, deleted their channels, made it harder and harder to find. And anybody who's already got their business operating on YouTube will pay the fee. They'll say $3,000 per month per channel. And then for us, we're going to have to spend like, $15,000 to $20,000 to maintain that. And that's on top of the money that we're already losing to invest in new channels. But we can afford it because we have memberships. Big corporations can afford it because they're big corporations. But new channels will never exist. There will be no more user-generated content. That's my concern. Let me show you this from The Guardian. You know who else should be on trial for the far rights, for the UK's far-right rights? Elon Musk. Ex-Twitter chairman sues X for $20 million. Elon Musk's, well, this one's a different story, but they're calling for Elon Musk's arrest. How do they frame the news against Elon Musk for X? What has he done? Open up the platform, activated monetization, one of the coolest things ever for people on X, one of the smartest things. Now you can make money. And they try to destroy it and burn him down. They lost control of that system. Now you're looking at YouTube. Why would they make it better for independent voices? I don't know that they would. Consider that. In the end, we think it may be good that Google's broken up, and it may be, but I am kind of worried that all it will actually do is the owners of Alphabet will hold stock in these companies all the same, maintain their control at their ideological level. These companies' cultures will not change, but they'll use it as an excuse to shut down independent voices. I'm not going to tell you what we should or shouldn't do. I don't know. Maybe breaking up is the right thing to do. Some free market capitalists think you shouldn't. Far be it from me. I don't have the answers. But I'll leave this one there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Smash that like button. Head over to Timcast.com. Become a member. Click join us and share this show with your friends if you really do like it. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see y'all at 6. For everybody else, we will grab your super chats. And the next story, of course, we have is the arrest warrant for the Ukrainians over the Nord Stream bombing. Huge, huge news. Get Off My Lawn 2 says, Military Times has an article dated 12th of August that Waltz was reverted to Master Sergeant after retirement due to not completing the academy. Really? I didn't realize it was Master Sergeant. I did not realize that. Military Times, Waltz, Master Sergeant. That's amazing that I missed that. Let's see. Military Times. Is this the story? This might be it. It's from that date. They say Tim Waltz, blah, 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 retired from his military career 59 days before he received orders. However, information from the National Guard candidacy paperwork filed. Let's see, mostly false. Other Republicans. Let me search for this. What was it? Master Sergeant? Here we go. He held the rank of Command Sergeant Major for 7 months, but Waltz ended his career as a Master Sergeant because he did not complete additional coursework at the U.S. Army Sergeants Major Academy. Could that be because he was trying to avoid deployment? Command Sergeants Major who don't complete the Sergeant Major's course revert back to their prior rank. Fascinating. Can't say that I'm surprised, ladies and gentlemen. Can't say that I'm surprised. All right. Brian Martin says he was a CSM on a conditional basis. He didn't complete the requirements and was demoted post-retirement. 9 years U.S. Army infantry here. Wow. Josh says, I thought Tampon Tim would have made a better joke if they were referring to him serving, only working once a month. We called Guard Reserve tampons all the time. Keep up the good work, young Timothy. I heard that one. UP Shut says, thanks Timcast IRL, I know of Brave browser and use it since, but Google is still better to search pictures. Google is better for a lot of reasons. We use Brave for everything. We use the Brave browser because Brave is better. Just generally speaking, slightly better. All right. So a lot of people just pointing out the appropriate rank thing. Danker Supreme says, my guess why they are breaking up Google is because they're about to flip on them during the election coverage, because what else has changed for Google during the past 4 years? Indeed, what has? Let's see. All right, let's see. J.R. Williams over in the general chat. Ooh, I love this. It says, Tim misses a lot. He misses a lot of major news stories as well, but perhaps it's intentional. They tell Tim what he can cover. Literally, no one does. I literally wake up and pull up news stories from prominent sources. I'll go to Political. I'll go to CNN. I love I just love the conspiracy reality people live in. The left claims that Republicans are secretly funding Timcast. They're not. And then whoever these people are claiming that I am told what I can and cannot cover. Literally not. I cover what I care about. Like U.S. giving Israel $20 billion and Germany issuing an arrest warrant over the Nord Stream bombing. What story should I be covering? This is the funny thing. People think that if you're not paying attention to their story, then you must be told you can't cover that story. Or I just didn't know about it. So how about you post the stories in Super Chat so I can see them on what stories you think I should cover, and then I will read the Super Chat. Robert Rogers says, when I was in the Army, we call the Guard living room Rangers. 24 years in the Guard is only 888 days in uniform. PFCs have more time in service. Yeah. What did they say? Weekend warriors or whatever? I still respect it. Cover the boogie situation? What is that? Are you talking about the YouTuber guy that doesn't matter and has no followers and what? What is this? This is the funny thing, right? If you go to like the top trending stories on X, on Google, if you look at the front page of news outlets, if you look at what is in the zeitgeist, you don't find these weird crackpot stories about, say, like Destiny. You know what I mean? Or Boogie or, whoever else. They don't matter to regular people. I'll tell you why I think Timcast IRL does well. There are a lot of people who live in subcultures. Perhaps you are on YouTube every day and you're getting recommended videos from David Pakman and Destiny, and then you're seeing some right-wing guy argue with them. If you want to live in that world, that's fine. You can. 99% of people don't live in that world. So what I based my story selection off of is relevance to global affairs. About it. Sometimes I'll do commentary videos on like a cultural issue, a viral video of a woman saying something and a guy interviewing on the street. And I'll talk about a cultural issue that I think matters. Or I'll talk about what I think is just top news that's going to impact the world. And I got to tell you, I think the show, the morning show and the nightly on IRL could be a lot bigger if we did what a lot of other creators did and just talked about, like, you've got these videos where a pundit might say something like, someone on Twitter said this, and, someone on Twitter said that, and blah, blah, blah. And then, no, someone on Twitter said this. And, I can only do so much with that. You know what I mean? If sometimes I can be like, here's an interesting cultural issue that's happening. Sometimes, usually when it's a slow news day. But a lot of the cultural channels, they do way better than me because I talk about news and my opinions on news because that's what I care about. The White Trash Panda says they tell Tim what to cover. Who is they, though? Indeed. Habatsky says Finland copies their news from CNN, so our news just cover weird and not stolen valor. Indeed. Well, that sucks. All right, let's see. Tallyho says, OMFG, I don't want to hear about Boogie or Keemstar or whatever it's called ever again. Like, I don't even know what's going on with those people. It doesn't matter. It's relevant to very few, and it's not relevant. Here's the question. Is it going to make this country better? Is it going to improve our lives? Probably not. But let's jump to this last story, my friends. First, let me get a drink of my delicious Numa. See, I was shouting them out the other day. Where's the thing? No, this is the wrong side. There you go. Numa. You know, during Timcast IRL, when I'm talking for 2 hours, I periodically will grab a drink of something, but other people are talking, so you never notice. But on the morning shows, I have to sneak away and grab a drink to be able to talk so much. But we were talking about Numa on the show yesterday. They're awesome coconut water-based sports drinks with like very little sugar. And James Klug tried the chocolate mint one. He was like, nope, don't like it. And apparently Raymond G. Stanley Jr. was saying like nobody likes them. And I'm like, I don't know, the people who like them really like them. But I was like, I don't want to rag on Numa's one bad flavor because all the other flavors are really good. And it's like one of my favorite drinks because it's coconut, it's organic water, coconut water, lemon juice, Himalayan pink salt, and stevia. I dig it. All right, anyway, let's talk about news instead of sports drinks. Here we go. From Politico, Germany issues arrest warrant over Ukraine for Ukrainian over Nord Stream bombing, reports say. Ukraine is our enemy. I believe that the country of Ukraine is an enemy of the United States. They have sabotaged and destroyed. They are invoking war and causing problems for us. They're siphoning away resources. I think they're an enemy of this country. But of course, the uniparty establishment is all on board. Politico says, hey, look at this. What's this? German prosecutors have obtained a European arrest warrant for a Ukrainian man they believe was involved in the bombing of the Nord Stream gas pipelines, according to media reports Wednesday. Those are Russian, by the way. The man, however, was able to escape arrest, German media reported. Germany's federal prosecutor general is seeking a man identified as Volodymyr Z. Zelensky? For privacy reasons, he's a 44-year-old Ukrainian diving professional who was last seen in Poland and has since disappeared. Wait, hold on. That's so funny. Volodymyr Zelensky, right? That's his name? Yeah. How old is he? He's 46. So this is Volodymyr Zelensky, Volodymyr Z. He's 46 years old. Okay. They're not actually suggesting the president of Ukraine personally went and blew up Russian gas pipelines. I was kidding, by the way. The man was identified as Volodymyr Zhuravlov. You see, there's the real name. By the Swedish newspaper Expressen, part of the reporting consortium covering the story. The subsea explosions in September 2022 took out 3 of the 4 Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines transporting gas from Russia to Germany and sent geopolitical shockwaves around the world. There are continuing unanswered questions about who is responsible and fingers pointed variously at Russia, Ukraine, the U.S., and the UK. I ain't believing for a second. Russia blew up their own pipeline. Nord Stream 1 had been in operation since 2011. Nord Stream 2 was completed, but had not yet begun pumping gas by the time of the attacks. The pipelines had been enormously controversial with Ukraine, the U.S., Poland, and others criticizing Germany for tying itself to Russian gas exports. A position that became untenable following Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Denmark and Sweden also opened probes into the explosions, but those investigations were suspended without naming a suspect. German prosecutors' investigation into the blast also points to 2 other Ukrainian nationals, a couple who run a diving school in Ukraine where Zhuravlov worked as a diving instructor. They say they believe that Yevhen and Svetlana Yu attached explosive charges to the pipelines, according to the investigation. The 3 expert divers were in the Baltic Sea in September 2022 aboard a German sailing yacht called Andromeda. According to the Süddeutsche Zeitung, The German prosecutor had listed Yevhen Yu and his wife Svetlana as possible accomplices. All right, we get the details. Let's break down what this means. In reality, I think Ukraine was working at the behest of the United States to blow up Russian gas pipelines because the U.S. wants to control energy in Europe. Here we go, baby. I'll make it quick. The U.S. wanted to build a gas pipeline called the Qatar-Turkey pipeline. It needed to go through Syria and Turkey into Europe to compete with Russia's Gazprom gas monopoly, which goes through Ukraine. Syria said no. Syria then falls into civil war, I believe likely due to CIA interference, to trigger a conflict in the country and destabilize it. Hence, U.S. troops are in Syria. We wanted to build this pipeline so that we could reduce gas prices via competition with Russia. Syria said no, Russia is our ally. Why then is there the Burisma scandal, where Joe Biden goes to the president of Ukraine and says, if you don't fire the prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, who's investigating, he didn't say this, but who was investigating Burisma, the founder, Mykola Zlochevsky, he said, I'm going to withhold congressionally approved loan guarantees $1 billion. The president of Ukraine says, you can't do that. And he goes, try me. This was illegal, outright illegal. Joe Biden did not have the authority to do this. He did it anyway. The reason is that Hunter Biden's on the board, that a former CIA counterterrorism director is on the board of Burisma, is they needed an energy company to facilitate the gas imports into Ukraine. They needed to control Ukraine to put controls on Gazprom. This would cause serious problems for Russia in selling gas and oil, diminish their economy. The U.S. then wanted to make Ukraine a NATO country so they could cut Russia off from the Black Sea. Without access to the Black Sea, Russia's not going to be selling oil through the Mediterranean, through the Black Sea, through the Bosphorus, into the Mediterranean. Basically, this was war against Russia. It was economic war against Russia the whole time. Russia's response was to invade Ukraine, secure their land bridge and access to Crimea, which is their only warm water port, which is in Sevastopol, where they have a naval base and where they can distribute oil into the Black Sea and into the Mediterranean. The U.S. wanted to shut them down, shut down their gas sales, isolate Russia, and basically destroy the country. What do you think that's going to turn into? So here we are. Ukraine, working at the behest of the United States, likely blew up the Russian gas pipelines, Nord Stream, so that it would severely hinder Russia's ability to sell gas, weakening the country. Why do you think Russia then invades Ukraine? Why do you think we are then at war? The U.S., NATO, has expanded dramatically into Eastern Europe and has pressured, look, man, they've pressured Russia to the point where war was inevitable. This is why I don't like current U.S. foreign policy. Under Donald Trump, these things weren't happening. Under Donald Trump, we had stability. Donald Trump was bringing peace agreements. Powerful Western interests headquartered in the United States and Europe want global dominance via the liberal economic order. Every country must fall in line, submit, or else. This whole project, whole campaign they were working on was to remove Putin, to destroy Russian governance, and make them a vassal state of Western powers. Russia said no. And now it's all falling apart. In the meantime, U.S. approves $20 billion in weapon sales to Israel amid threat of wider Middle Eastern war. You know what I can't stand? I can't stand the people who think that the United States is a vassal state of Israel. I think that narrative exists to make it impossible for people like me and other anti-war types to stop what the U.S. is doing or to argue against it. The idea they want to create is to dominate the conversation on Israel and make it seem like there's two things. One side is any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. Lie. The other side is Israel controls everything. Insanity. The reality is Israel has its interests. Israel is right powerful. The U.S. does support Israel. But Israel is a proxy, is a vassal state of the United States. They're going after Netanyahu. They want to remove him. They want to control this country. They don't like what he does. The United States exerts tremendous authority over Israel. And they talk about AIPAC. They talk about pro-Israel PACs that are ousting people like Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman. The bigger picture there is the U.S. wants war in the Middle East. Barack Obama destabilized the region intentionally, in my opinion, to destroy these governments so that the chaos allows the U.S. to come in and do whatever they want. The benefit of what the U.S. is doing in supplying Israel and the conflict in the Middle East is that we can then go into Iraq, Afghanistan, destabilize Iran, exert our authority, and once again, just like with Russia, we can press the liberal economic order. So why are these pro-Israel PACs going after the Squad? Because the Squad is opposed to Israel, and Israel is a vassal state that is instigating a war that the United States wants to happen. Now, some people have suggested Kamala, Biden, and others, Obama, are pro-Iran and don't want the war in the Middle East. If that were true, why did Barack Obama ramp up Stuxnet? What was it? Operation Olympus or whatever it was called? They developed the virus in tandem with Israel to blow up Iranian nuclear centrifuges. That's an act of war. Iran didn't retaliate, at least as far as we know. They want war with Iran. They want the justification. They just want to control it. What they're really hoping for is instability so they can go in the region, take the oil, control what they want to control. Israel is a foothold. The U.S. tried building a beachhead in Gaza. They want what's happening. And now they're going to give $20 billion of your money, which is going to lead to more massive inflation. They've given hundreds of billions of Ukraine for similar reasons, and people are wondering why it is they can't afford to eat. Why the food costs are getting so high. Congress was notified of the impending sale, which includes more than 50 F-15 fighter jets, advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles, AMRAAMs, AMRAAMs, a 120-millimeter tank ammunition, and high explosive mortars and tactical vehicles, and comes at a time of intense concern that Israel may become involved in a wider Middle Eastern war. Oh, yeah. Iran is outright saying it's war. However, the weapons are not expected to get to Israel anytime soon. They are contracts that will take years to fulfill. Much of what is being sold is to help Israel increase its military capability in the long term. The earliest systems being delivered under the contract aren't expected until the 2026 timeframe. Quote, the United States is committed to the security of Israel, and it is vital to U.S. national interest to assist Israel to develop and maintain a strong and ready self-defense capability. This proposed sale is consistent with those objectives, the State Department said in a release on the sale. The Biden administration has had to balance its continued support for Israel with a growing number of calls from lawmakers and the U.S. public to curb military support there due to the high number of civilian deaths in Gaza. It has curbed one delivery of 2,000-pound weapons amid continued airstrikes by Israel in densely populated civilian areas in Gaza. What does it all mean, my friends? A vote for Kamala Harris expands the war. To be fair, I don't know, as I said earlier, that if Donald Trump gets in, I don't know that he can stop what's coming. I don't. I'd like to believe it, but I don't know that it's possible. In the meantime, I'd say Ukraine is an enemy of the American people. Now, for the deep state, for the liberal economic order, they're a great vassal. But I think for what Americans really want, Ukraine is going to make World War III happen. Not just Ukraine, Israel as well. These two states are not helping the American people. I'll leave it there. Next segment is tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share these videos and share the shows if you really do like them. You can follow me on X at Timcast as well as Instagram at Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all tonight. And for everybody else, we'll grab just a couple more super chats because we only got a couple more, but it looks like we got through a lot of segments much more quickly. They weren't as long as they can be. So we'll read a little bit of what you guys got, but maybe we'll end up wrapping up early unless you guys blast some more super chats in. All right. Here we go. Lucian Heck says there's a document from the International Organization for Migration titled Leveraging Human Mobility to Rescue the 2030 Agenda. Really? Phoenix Anthem says, if YouTube starts charging, Vimeo will grow in popularity. Their platform is far superior, is better than YouTube IMO. Yes, but people are still addicted to YouTube. All right. Adam says, here for real news, mainstream is evil. Completely agree. Like 70% evil, I'd say. No, like 80, 85% evil. There's some, good journalists out there, but they don't really do big stuff. MMA Doodoo says, do the Alex Pereira being Amber Hearded story. I don't know who that is or what's that about. Grandpa Irv says the woke left controls Tim. If he takes off the beanie, you will see a tiny Kamala pulling levers. That's true. Kamala Harris, she's actually very tiny. The reason why she doesn't do any interviews is because she's actually very small and she exists in the command center under my hat. And that's why really what they're doing. Remember in Lord of the Rings how they made the actors look small and the other actors look big? That's all it really is. When Kamala's walking out of the car, it's actually the car's really close to the camera and she's really far, or no, wait, she's really close to the camera and the car's really far away. So it looks like she's the same size as the car, but she's actually very small. Bridges says, did you read And to Think I Saw on MLK Street, a conservative children's book? You were sent a couple of copies a while ago. I hope you loved it. I didn't see it. I didn't. Maybe we should. All right. Danker Supreme says, careful what you say, Tim. If you say Ukraine is a hostile nation who attacks us, you might just cause us to invade Ukraine as well. Trying to displace Russia. Oh, that's going to happen. Clank on a tank says, Peter Zion kept pushing the Gazprom blew it up conspiracy. Now Russia has the second best army in Kursk, and the U.S. has redeployed to the Middle East. Israel doesn't have much time for the red heifer. Unless this is part of it. Travis Kistner says, Heavy Ball Entertainment on YouTube. I make Pokemon content, nothing political, just enjoying Pokemon games and cards, cooking show in the works. Very cool. Shout out. Eric Poe says, can be appointed job title, CSM without E9, also can get E9, but not long enough to officially retire with the title. Confusing. 26-year active guard. Shout out. Lost Cause says, Tim, look into Krark Sakashima deck. Loads of fun. We here at Timcast have banned Commander partners. The stupidest thing that they did was partners. Backgrounds are okay, I guess. But no, get out of here. The partner BS. It's esoteric, but for those that don't know, it's just a game format thing that the person was talking about. Talking about game format stuff. Google lateral promotion. Let's do it. Lateral promotion. The Google AI stuff is just not good. I got to be honest. Search Labs. A lateral promotion, also known as a lateral move, is a career change where an employee moves to a new role within the same company and a similar pay grade. Lateral promotion, National Guard. Nothing comes up. All right, well, there you go. What is a lateral promotion in the Army? It's a video I'm not going to watch. Well, there you go. I don't know. Here we go. We got some more super chats. Benedict Meatball says, another story I haven't heard anyone mention. Sean Ryan interviewed Commander Mossad, claimed we fund the Taliban $80 million a week. Yes, we probably do. Clank says, Netanyahu had to come to the U.S. and meet with Biden and Harris before Israel took out the Hamas leaders in Iran. Harris supported the attack, is a Zionist and against Islam. Yeah, I think that we are actually going to get, more war. More war. Caleb PV says he never read my super chat. Which one was that? Travis says, thanks for the shout out. Which one was that one? There aren't that many super chats, so I can scroll through them and then see which one that is. He says, Timmy, watch interview with Lisa DeMuth on Forbes Breaking News YouTube channel. It exposes Waltz big time. Share it. Interesting. Corn Pop says, I don't understand how kooky Kamala can be the nominee without winning a single primary. Yep. Nam Bizzle says, that Trump promo, I got chills. Yeah. Based Jew says, there's no religion or party without wolves. Indeed, man. Yin yang. You know what I'm saying? You've got the good with the bad, and I think that's life. It's a balance. It's a constant battle between good and evil. It will never be perfect. There will always be the struggle. There will always be a challenge, and that's all we can do. The price for freedom is eternal vigilance, my friends. But I suppose we'll wrap things up a little bit early today. We'll wrap it up there. Smash the like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with all of your friends. And we'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. We've got Terrence Williams on the show on IRL tonight, so it'll be a lot of fun. We'll hang out with him and talk about what's going on. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Follow me there and become a member by going to timcast.com. Click join us. But for $10 per month, you can help us in the fight against fake news in doing our best to show you what's really going on, whether you like our opinions or don't. And you can support the general work that we do across the board with culture building, the coffee company, all of those things, castbrew.com. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Subscribe, and we'll see you all tonight.